That was funny. Understanding the entity and its environment, and assessing the risks of material misstatement. This section addresses the auditor's responsibility to identify and assess the risks of material misstatement in the financial statements through understanding the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal control. Objective. The objective of the auditor is to identify and assess the risks of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error at the financial statement, and relevant assertion levels through understanding the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal control, thereby providing a basis for designing and implementing responses to the assessed risks of material misstatement. Definitions. For the purposes of generally accepted auditing standards, the following terms have the meanings attributed as follows. Assertions. Representations by management, explicit or otherwise, that are embodied in the financial statements as used by the auditor to consider the different types of potential misstatements that may occur. Business risk. A risk resulting from significant conditions, events, circumstances, actions, or inactions that could adversely affect an entity's ability to achieve its objectives and execute its strategies, or from the setting of inappropriate objectives and strategies. Internal control, a process affected by those charged with governance, management, and other personnel that is designed to provide reasonable assurance about achievement of the entity's objectives with regard to the reliability of financial reporting, effectiveness and efficiency of operations, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Internal control over safeguarding of assets against unauthorized acquisition, use, or disposition may include controls relating to financial reporting and operations objectives. Relevant assertion, a financial statement assertion that has a reasonable possibility of containing a misstatement or misstatements that would cause the financial statements to be materially misstated. The determination of whether an assertion is a relevant assertion is made without regard to the effect of internal controls. Risk assessment procedures. The audit procedures performed to obtain an understanding of the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal control, to identify and assess the risks of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error at the financial statement and relevant assertion levels. Significant risk. An identified and assessed risk of material misstatement that, in the auditor's professional judgment, requires special audit consideration. Risk assessment procedures. And related activities. The auditor should perform risk assessment procedures to provide a basis for the identification and assessment of risks of material misstatement at the financial statement and relevant assertion levels. Risk assessment procedures by themselves, however, do not provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence on which to base the audit opinion. The risk assessment procedures should include the following: inquiries of management, appropriate individuals within the internal audit function, if such function exists, others within the entity who, in the auditor's professional judgment, may have information that is likely to assist in identifying risks of material misstatement due to fraud or error. Analytical procedures. Observation and inspection. The auditor should consider whether information obtained from the auditor's client acceptance or continuance process is relevant to identifying risks of material misstatement. If the engagement partner has performed other engagements for the entity, the engagement partner should consider whether information obtained is relevant to identifying risks of material misstatement. During planning, the auditor should During planning, the auditor should consider the results of the assessment of the risk of material misstatement due to fraud, along with other information gathered in the process of identifying the risks of material misstatements. When the auditor intends to use information obtained from the auditor's previous experience with the entity and from audit procedures performed in previous audits. The auditor should determine whether changes have occurred since the previous audit that may affect its relevance to the current audit. The engagement partner and other key engagement team members the engagement partner and other key engagement team members should discuss the susceptibility of the entity's financial statements to material misstatement and the application of the applicable financial reporting framework to the entity's facts and circumstances. The engagement partner should determine which matters are to be communicated to engagement team members not involved in the discussion. Understanding the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal control, the entity and its environment. The auditor should obtain an understanding of the following. Nothing I care about. I wonder if it's, I guess I could look out that window, but I'd barely be able to tell. Is it even snowing right now? Dude, I gotta see this. Is it even snowing? Dude, it doesn't appear to be snowing right now. Why is this thing? Dude. It's either rain or not snowing at all. Did we even need to skip class today? Well, I don't care. I'd rather have class on Zoom anyways. It barely makes a difference if we have it on Zoom or in person. Can we please skip class tomorrow even though it doesn't even appear to be snowing? According to this, it's snowing. It says it's snowing. Oh no. This timer's going. Mixed precipitation. It says there's only 0.02 inches of precipitation. Are you kidding me? What is that? How is that even possible? Well, it says there's going to be lots of precipitation until later tonight, but not tomorrow? Is it even going to be snowing tomorrow? It looks like it won't even snow tomorrow or rain. So there's no way we're going to be able to skip school. Gosh dang it. Man, I would have rather skipped school on a Thursday or Tuesday than on a Wednesday. And yesterday, I was in my government class and I was struggling for like 10 minutes straight to not cough. The entity and its environment. Well, at least I can finally have a normal Thursday if it's not going to actually snow tomorrow. That means I have to get up at 5. Gosh dang it. The auditor should obtain an understanding of the following: relevant industry, regulatory, and other external factors, including the applicable financial reporting framework, the nature of the entity, including its operations, its ownership and governance structures, the types of investments that the entity is making and plans to make, including investments in entities formed to accomplish specific objectives, and the way that the entity is structured and how it is financed. To enable the auditor to understand the classes of transactions, account balances, and disclosures to be expected in the financial statements. The entity selection and application of accounting policies, including the reasons for changes thereto. The auditor should evaluate whether the entity's accounting policies are appropriate for its business and consistent with the applicable financial reporting framework and accounting policies used in the relevant industry. The entity's objectives and strategies and those related business risks that may result in risks of material misstatement. The measurement and review of the entity's the measurement and review. The measurement. I keep thinking about Crash Insanity instead of this. the measurement and review of the entity's financial performance, the entity's internal control. The auditor should obtain an understanding of internal control The auditor should obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit. Although most controls relevant to the audit are likely to relate to financial reporting, not all controls that relate to financial reporting are relevant to the audit. It is a matter of the auditor's professional judgment whether a control individually or in combination with others is relevant to the audit. Nature and extent of the understanding of relevant controls. Ooh, we have 20 more minutes until our class starts. Nature and extent of the understanding of relevant controls. When obtaining an understanding of controls, that are relevant to the audit, when obtaining an understanding of controls that are relevant to the audit, the auditor should evaluate the design of those controls and determine whether they have been implemented by performing procedures in addition to inquiry of the entity's personnel. Components of internal control. Control environment. The auditor should obtain an understanding of the control environment. As part of obtaining this understanding, the auditor should evaluate whether management, with the oversight of those charged with governance, has created and maintained a culture of honesty and ethical behavior, and the strengths in the control and evaluate whether the strengths in the control environment elements collectively provide an appropriate foundation for the other components of internal control, and whether those other components are not undermined by deficiencies in the control environment. The entity's risk assessment process. The auditor should obtain an understanding of whether the entity has a process for identifying business risks, relevant to financial reporting objectives, estimating the significance of the risks, assessing the likelihood of their occurrence, and deciding about actions to address those risks. If the entity has established a risk assessment process, referred to hereafter as the entity's risk assessment process. The auditor should obtain an understanding of it and the results thereof. If the auditor identifies risks of material misstatement that management failed to identify, the auditor should evaluate whether an underlying risk existed that the auditor expects would have been identified by the entity's risk assessment process. If such a risk exists, the auditor should obtain an understanding of why that process failed to identify it and evaluate whether the process is appropriate to its circumstances, or determine if a significant deficiency or material weakness exists in internal control regarding the entity's risk assessment process. Understanding the entity and its environment. If the entity has not established such a process or has an ad hoc process. That was funny. The auditor should discuss with management whether business risks relevant to financial reporting objectives have been identified and how they have been addressed. The auditor should evaluate whether the absence of a documented risk assessment process is appropriate in the circumstances, or determine whether it represents a significant deficiency or material weakness in the entity's internal control. The information system, including the related business processes relevant to financial reporting and communication. The auditor should obtain an understanding of the information system, including the related business processes relevant to financial reporting, including the following areas: the classes of transactions in the entity's operations that are significant to the financial statements, the procedures within both IT and manual systems by which those transactions are initiated, authorized, recorded, processed, corrected as necessary, transferred to the general ledger, and reported in the financial statements. The related accounting records supporting information and specific accounts in the financial statements that are used to initiate, authorize, record, process, and report transactions. This includes the correction of incorrect information and how information is transferred to the general ledger. The records may be in either manual or electronic form. How the information system captures events and conditions other than transactions that are significant to the financial statements. The financial reporting process used to prepare the entity's financial statements, including significant accounting estimates and disclosures. Controls surrounding journal entries, including non-standard journal entries used to record non-recurring, unusual transactions or adjustments.